Hi, everyone. Welcome to day 4 of the Fulfillment Formula. As you know, we're talking about how you can achieve with ease. And before we dive in, I'm going to put the play sheet in the chat just so you have it. And of course, you're getting it with your emails as well. But I just want to make sure you have it today if you need it. So it should be in there. So as a reminder, we shifted yesterday to looking at possibilities for your life. And we used some visualization to connect with your most empowered, fulfilled self. And ideally, you can connect with this higher self to stay inspired and really in this, instead of being in some sort of forcing energy, right? Forcing yourself to do something, I want you to really embrace this side where you can be pulled forward to take steps that you know feel right and for you to be able to see some clarity of where you need to go next. So that's the energy of your highest self. And today we'll even get more connected to your truth and explore what your deepest desires are. In other words, what's important to you. And if I were to use another word, it's something that we hear often, which is your why. Let's figure out what is your why. And on Friday, tomorrow, we'll dive into how to focus these different desires through a framework I use. And it'll help you start creating and developing desired outcomes, which is what I like to call goals, that you're actually excited to pursue. So again, it's more of this pulling you forward, inspiring energy versus this forcing energy. With that, let's talk about what we're covering today, which is all about living your truth. It's good to know what your truth is, but we also want to help you live it, actually. So, what we'll do is uncover your core values and learn how they serve as a compass for your most fulfilling achievements. This is all about how you make authentic choices that really resonate deeply with who you are. So, again, you're feeling empowered to make decisions that are not only leading you towards success, but also deeply satisfied, right? We're going beyond checking boxes and looking successful on the outside. We want you to feel satisfied and fulfilled on the inside as well. So, by understanding your core values and living in alignment with them, we continue to strengthen the foundation for what I keep calling heart-driven success. Hopefully, we'll show you a new way to live with more joy while getting the results you desire. So it can all happen, I promise. With that in mind, we're going to jump in to clarify what's important to you. Again, we're just really digging deeper on what matters to you. And we want to learn what are your personal values. Now, your values are actually present when you're happy. So this isn't something we have to go try to figure out or something really difficult. It's basically when you're feeling happier and lighter, that means you're probably living in alignment with your values. And if I were to give it another description, it's just basically want to learn what has meaning for you. And we're going to look at it broadly speaking at first, and then we'll relate it to different parts of your life. I often use the example of career. So we're going to understand your values more broadly and then understand how they can apply to different areas of your life, like you saw in the Wheel of Life. And when we know what we really want in life, that's basically how you can be true to yourself. I know it sounds obvious, but sometimes we, again, revert back to that side of us that holds us back, that insecure overachiever. But if we can uncover your values, you can allow that information to guide you, you're more likely to get results that feel more fulfilling. And that's why this matters, basically. But I just wanted to drive home that when you become more aware of what's important to you, again, your personal values, you'll actually better understand what genuinely motivates you. That goes back to your whys. And sometimes we have these hidden motivations we aren't entirely aware of as we live our day to day lives that are the strongest in our lives. So, if we can raise our awareness about them and then create intentions and desired outcomes based on them, the more enthusiastic we'll feel to make the changes in our life. So, again, we're looking at values, what makes you feel happy, what's present in those moments. Sometimes we're not even entirely aware what those are. So I'm going to give you an example of what I mean by that, and then we're going to help you uncover it for yourself. So back in the day, every New Year, I used to make a New Year's resolution to lose 10 pounds. And every year I would not lose 10 pounds and say, okay, I'll just do that next year. I'm like, I'm going to eat better. If there's a piece of chocolate cake or some delicious pasta or pizza in front of me, I thought, I'm going to enjoy that. I'll lose 10 pounds tomorrow, not today. So I'm sure you can relate to an example of putting off that goal or the desired outcome till the next day or someday. But when I started learning about my values and thinking more about my health goals, right? If I was thinking of that wheel of life and the part that represented health and what I really wanted, I noticed that I really didn't care about weighing a certain amount. This was what I would call a should. As we know, we shouldn't be shoulding on ourselves. What I really did care about was having more energy and feeling fit. Now, I know that can sound like an intangible goal, but once I got that clarity, I started uncovering what that could look like for me, right? I was excited to figure out ways to feel energetic and fit. So I started refining my goals to reflect those two desires. Now, before this type of exercise, I didn't really realize that energy was important to me. So I did have to do some research and I started learning more about how to give my body energy through getting better sleep, exercising, and modifying the way I ate. And over time, I just started adopting these new behaviors in the hope of getting more energy. And they were very simple, such as working out every other day and eating the Mediterranean diet. Now, I know I'm making it sound simple, but it really did get easier once I got clear on my why. And I started learning about simple ways to give my body energy. And I also found ways that felt pleasurable. Like I grew up eating the Mediterranean diet. So that was really easy um, for me to do that, to be just embrace that way of eating again. I veered off of it for a little while during and post college. So that was actually pretty enjoyable. And we know that's a healthy way to eat. And then I had heard of a study that actually said if you worked out, you slept better 2 days in a row, 2 nights in a row, I should say. And back in the day, I used to hear you only slept better the one night. Whether the study is still true or accurate, uh, no one knows because I feel like those studies can change often. But the bottom line is, I started working out every other day and I started enjoying it. It became a habit. So, again, this way of living allowed me to eat what I like and live a life with activities I enjoyed. And the results I experienced were great. When my health goals were based on my values, specifically of having more energy, I ended up feeling better than ever. In fact, I had more energy in my 30s and then in my 40s than I even did in my 20s. And here's the best part, I lost weight too. So it's a little secret I came up with, right? When you eat right, sleep, and exercise, you might lose some weight. But I love this example because what it really signifies is how, again, if you honor your truth, what's possible. And something like losing weight was not, it was a result of honoring what was true for me. So this is just another example of knowing and accepting yourself, right? I hope you can see that knowing yourself better, in other words, your why, and accepting it versus trying to fight it, right? Versus trying to have a goal that you feel like you've heard about before, or you start shooting on yourself. You're trusting yourself to go for what makes you happy. And when you build goals on what you genuinely want, that leads you to be more excited to pursue goals versus feeling like you have to force yourself to take action. I'm not sure if you've heard this before, but where there's passion, there's purpose and there's action, right? So if you feel a strong sense of purpose and you're passionate about what you're doing, you're more likely to take some steps. So again, as you can see from my example, I was able to get results because I was more connected to my truth and I went for what I wanted, which was much more enjoyable. And that's what I want for you. And that's what I do with my coaching. I help people understand what's important to them so they can build a values-based life, which leads to a life they love. So with that in mind, let's see. I just want to walk you through this exercise that I call your peak experience that helps you dig deeper into what's important to you, okay? So some of you might have done this before, but I want you to know that you can continue to do this exercise every quarter. You can do it as often as you want, but I would at least do it once a year, just so you can follow along if that's something you haven't done before or thought about. So I just want you to be relaxed. And I'm going to ask you a question and just consider the first thing that comes to mind. Do not overthink it. I want you to think about a time or identify a special peak moment in your life. And that moment could be something really rewarding, or it could be something very poignant. Ideally, it's a snapshot in time, meaning it's like a limited moment in time. Maybe it was 5 minutes, maybe it was a day, maybe it was a whole summer. It could have been 10 years ago, it could have been last week. For example, it could be something like in Chicago, I think of sometimes walking along the lake and seeing the sun sparkling. But it could also be more significant, like getting to meet my nieces and nephews and being their aunt. So just go with what comes to mind. And if you have your play sheet or a journal, you can just jot down what you're thinking of and trust yourself, okay? And the questions you want to specifically answer are where you were, what were you doing, who was around you, and what you were feeling. And maybe there was no one else around you, but at a minimum, who was around you. When you're ready, can you just put a thumbs up in the chat? Great. No, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to respond, so I'll just keep going. But yeah, chime in when you can if you want. So again, this exercise is meant to help you define your values. In other words, what's important to you. I'm going to remind you that your values are basically how you express yourself and relate to others, okay? So with that in mind, I am curious if anyone wants to share what came up for them, and then we could do the values exercise live for you. I promise it's fun. Oops. Let me get back on camera. There we are. Anyone want to share? I can share my version, but I think it'd be more fun if you wanted to share. Nisha, Nikki, no? I can share.
Rosie, I can share.
Okay, what's coming up for you, Dan?
Yeah, so well, it's the same moment as when I last did this exercise last January. So but I love it. It's my marathon example. When I was running that for the first time and just kind of being at the start line where it's sunny and getting ready to go and being around all these people who have the same goal as I do, and being a bright sunny day. So for me, that was probably one of the most important moments in my life that I continue to think about, that I think is very much related to my values. Yeah, I'm not sure if I answered all the questions.
No, you did. I mean, you know, what I love, and it's interesting because it could be the same time moment, like you just said, or it might be something different. You just got to trust your brain that it's picking up what matters to you in this moment, Deanne. And
yep.
And if I were thinking of the different values that I'm just hearing from this example, you know, brightness, warmth, motivation, purpose, like-minded people. It sounds like when you're present to those things, right? When they're in your life, you feel happier. Would you agree, or did I catch it right?
Oh yeah, yeah, that's perfect. I think I would also add, wellness to that, but everything you said is exactly correct.
Yes, exactly. And we could keep going on with that list, but you see that it's like, oh, right. And to me, it's always fascinating how the brain knows the message you need to hear, right? Like, not, I mean, your first marathon was a long time ago, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
And it's just funny that that's not funny, but that's how our brain works. It's a sign that that's what you need to hear. So thanks for sharing. I'll share a quick, unless anyone else wants to share, I was going to share a quick example just in case you're new to this exercise, it can help you understand it. Or does anyone else want to do this where I uncover your values?
I can share.
Okay, Nisha, what's coming up for you?
Okay, so for me, it was actually, it was a person. So a little bit different, but what comes to mind, I guess, it was April. So last month, there was a 2-week period where I was out on the West Coast for work and personal. And so I just extended my stay there because I was out there for work. And I was able to reconnect with one of my really good friends from like high school. So it was a special friendship we had, and I guess just being around just the energy, the mood, the happiness, the positivity. I mean, we would be working together during the day and go out for dinners, whatever, walks on the beach. So it's just kind of that feeling of comfort, wellness, you know, like just from an emotional standpoint, like just positivity and that reconnection with somebody that you haven't seen in over 20 something years.
That's so cool. And you work together as well?
Now we work together again. So we used to work together a long time ago. And then I left that company, and like we pretty much found each other again on social media by fluke. And
Oh my
then
gosh.
now we're working, now we're working again. So
That's so fun.
yeah.
I love it. Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like you're already doing this. You can see your values that are coming up, right? Like,
Mhm.
I'm going to list the ones that I heard and you could see if they resonate with you. I'm not offended if they don't, or if you want to add something else, but I want to show you like, this is how you can uncover those hidden motivations, right? Like, I don't know if you would have thought that, right? If I was like, what are your values? Could you say certain things like, this is what I'll say. Connection is important to you, friendship, energy, positivity, nature, wellness. And I'm going to say something it doesn't always have to be it's like, it could be a phrase that embodies something. I'm going to say the words coming home. Something right? Something about a heart-filled coming home. I don't know. I
Yeah.
just felt like that was meaningful to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, and so this is what's cool about this. I don't know if someone asked you what your values were, would you say coming home, right? Or coming back to my heart? That's not the way we really talk.
Right.
But hopefully you could see that is an expression of, gosh, maybe if I have a little bit more of that in my life, it would feel
Yeah.
good. Okay.
Absolutely.
Can you see that?
You nailed it. Yeah.
Oh, yay, good. All right, well, we're going to keep going here so you could see how you could use this moving forward. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to get the presentation back up. Hopefully you could see that. So yeah, you could do this, like I said, periodically, every quarter, once a year, but basically we are trying to identify your values or what's important to you without coming straight out and asking you. And you can see a value is basically how you may express yourself and relate to other people too, right? Because it's like, oh, coming home, maybe you're someone who makes your home life very important the way it looks, or maybe you're really focused on being with people you've had a long-term connection with. It could show up in different ways, but I'm just using that as an example. And ultimately, our deepest values are present when we're happy. So again, I know that might feel like oversimplifying it, but it can be that simple if these values resonate with you. So what I want to do next is help you create a list of your values from a couple of sources. Again, we can use this peak experience. So Deanne and Nisha, you have your examples that you started with, right? Add anything else that you're identifying from your peak experience. And again, you can list this out in your handout or in notes you might have, notebook. Another source you could look at is that guided meditation when you connected with your highest self. Look at any qualities that were showing up, meaning when you first saw your future self, where you lived. Is there anything from that meditation, the advice you got, the memory that stood out? You know, for some people, they might say, oh, I was spending time with my grandkids, and they don't have any grandkids now, but that's what they were imagining. And so that might be a clue to, oh, family's important to them. Does that make sense? Like the memory they had over the 20 years. And just so you know, this is a simple approach, but when I'm working with clients, I also use a variety of questions to help them uncover what matters most to them. But this is a really good start. So you can just jot down your answers and I will be quiet while you list them. I'm going to give you actually one other quick example that if you think about what's possible and who you're being, right, at your highest self. I know we just talked about the meditation, but in general, when you feel like, gosh, I feel limitless, or you might say to yourself, oh, I feel like I have courage, or I'm vulnerable, right? Those could be ways that you describe yourself at your best. And then courage and vulnerability could be examples of values. Here are just some examples if it helps at all. Just thinking of like, you can jot any of these down. When you're ready, you can start prioritizing them. And I know it might be tough, but in theory, if we could be more clear and focused on what we desire, what we want to bring forth in our lives more, the more likely you are to experience them. So I invite you to circle 5. You can even circle 6 if you want, of your values that you feel like are most important for you to honor at this point in your life. So if I'm going to say this another way, it's, you know that if you had more of these values in your life, you'd feel happier if you honored them. If that feels overwhelming, I think sometimes it's good to use a time frame like, gosh, in the next 6 months to a year, this is what I would focus on. So back in the day when I was thinking of leaving, I actually ended up leaving my day job. No, it was actually while I was still in advertising. I had 2 values. One was, I had 5, but the 2 important ones were career fulfillment and connection, plus my other ones like celebration, trust. And when I got really clear, I knew that career fulfillment was important to me because I knew I wanted to make a transition. So just take a moment to circle your top 5. So now you should have a list of your priorities or what matters most to you at this point in your life. And if you have trouble with distinguishing which ones you want to prioritize, let me know. We can talk about this later, or we can find a time to chat. But what's interesting is hopefully you start to see some energy moving towards these qualities. And maybe sometimes these are present in your life, and that's great. But if they're not as present as you'd like them to be, it's just a sign, oh, maybe I could find ways to add these into my life more. In other words, could you take action or have activities in your life that align with these values? When you do, you'll be happier because, again, you're living your truth. And the best part is that your values can help you get a bit more tactical, and you can use these to guide you in moving forward with next steps. So again, this is helping you carve out your unique path, right? I keep thinking of, okay, if I'm honoring, let's say my example, connection, laughter, love, career accomplishments, and energy, this is about what you want, not what other people want. So the good news is now you have more focused priorities because you have your life plan and maybe even the matrix, right? Which life areas you're going to focus on throughout the next few months or year. And now you know which values you want to honor in these life areas. And we're going to talk more about how to do that tomorrow, but I just want you to see that through this process of getting to know yourself better, you're prepared to think about how you want to express your true self and how you can start attracting desires in any area of your life, from relationships to health and career. So your why, these hidden motivations, will be very helpful. And I also just want to emphasize that we're building on your new way to set goals and really a new way to live your life. Because true fulfillment allows you to feel more energized, and the fulfillment and energy comes from living in alignment. I always do this, comes with living in alignment with your core values. And I do that because I think of my head and my heart are connecting, right? It's not just the mental, I should be doing this. It's like, what does my heart desire? And when I connect the two and live in alignment with them, you'll feel more energized and fulfilled. And like I said earlier, you can actually use these values as guideposts to make decisions and to ultimately take action for moving forward. So we will uncover tomorrow how you can do that. But oftentimes when I work with clients, I share with them a way to prioritize these 5 values and then how to apply them. And what we want to do is take all the information from this whole week, in particular, your life areas and your values, and we'll talk about how to develop desired outcomes with inspired next steps, where you're more intentional than ever. And you're ensuring that your path, again, is authentic to who you are. We can do this for any of the life areas you identified that you wanted to work on. So I want that to be clear. It can work for all life areas, and we'll explore that more tomorrow. Before we move on, I just thought I'd share a quick example, and then we'll be wrapping up in a few minutes. So here's an example of a client who created her desired outcomes, and she basically had a plan. She was a doctor and a dancer, and she was looking for love. And the gist is she was very busy, obviously saving lives, and she thought, gosh, that doesn't leave a lot of room for fun or romance. And we knew that part of her fun would be enjoying dance competitions because she used to dance and she actually was a dancer. And as well as finding love and romance. But again, her stressful job just felt like it would just perpetuate her being in that doing mode. So what we ended up doing is helping her get clear on her values and highlighted her focus on romance and fun to create her goals. I know this sounds oversimplified, but because we went through this process I'm about to share with you tomorrow, she was so clear. She felt really inspired to follow through on her goals and the next steps that we developed. And so she started taking consistent action in a very organized and conscientious way. So she was productive, right? She had to be, and positive. And when you're productive and positive, you really can attract what you desire. So we just saw how her career became more empowering. She stepped into her element more and more at work. She started dancing in competitions and winning first place awards. And then she ultimately got married, which was exciting. We had her dating and she ended up meeting someone. I got to go to the wedding, which was very fun. And now she is growing her beautiful family and has a sweet little baby girl. So I know I'm just giving you the high level here, but I just want you to know it is possible to move forward even when you're used to being in doing mode. You can connect with what you really desire and find a way and a structure to support you. So I will remind you of this new approach to your goals, so where you can be really aligned with your truth. Again, you need to know your season of life. So go back to that exercise if you need to. We've been creating priorities with your wheel of life and the life plan matrix, so you can finally feel more confidence about your next steps and where you're putting your focus. And remember that life plan matrix can also help mitigate any negative self-talk. And that can lead you to a place of feeling calm. And when we're calm, we have access to more solutions. You also are hopefully saying that you can empower yourself and come from a place of love for yourself and even others when you're more connected to your higher self. You start to make better choices about how you want to show up and who you want to be in your life. And finally, you're solidifying your foundation for what, again, I call heart-driven success by honoring your values. In other words, your why. And this is what drives you and motivates you at the deepest levels. So what I've noticed is if you're not leveraging these different strategies and tools, you do end up working against yourself and the flow of your life. And that's what leads to burnout. So before we wrap up this section, it'd be great to have an understanding of what you could work on as you move forward. And I know it can be tough to evaluate progress sometimes that feels a little bit intangible. I know I'm giving you these exercises. It's like, maybe where do I start? But hopefully you're getting more clear. But I thought I would share a rating system to help you evaluate. So here is the system. And if you want to jot this down somewhere in your notes, I'll walk you through it. And if you need more time, you can do it later tonight. But at least want you to start thinking about on a scale from 0 to 10, 0 being on the left and 10 being closer to the right, are you using these strategies and tools we've been discussing? Can you use them as well? But you might already be using them, so that's why it's good to evaluate. So for the first metric, are you on the left doing it all the time instead of being focused and confident about your next steps? So if you feel like you're doing it all, that might be more like a 0, 1, 2, 3. If you feel like, no, you're focused, you're clear on your next steps, that's closer to a 10. And again, there's no judgment as you evaluate. This just helps you get clear. The next metric is, do you feel like there's a lot of negative self-talk and maybe doubting yourself? So are you on the left there? Or are you connecting with your higher self? That expanded awareness where you're more compassionate, you're more open to solutions, and you can make better choices. Or on the third metric, are you honoring other people's values, other people's definition for success, right? We've probably been conditioned since childhood by our family, our society, to put value on certain things. I want to move you toward following your own values. So toward the right, now that you've been uncovering a little bit more about what's important to you, have you been honoring those values? When you do, you can set up conditions for joy and success so that action and ultimately results can come more naturally to you, right? It's not that forcing feeling. So this is something, again, I'll give you a minute to explore it now, see if you have questions, and then we'll wrap up. So just keep looking at where there might be gaps where you can make some progress for each element. Consider, what are you implementing now? Maybe you are honoring some of your values, but there's some you uncovered where you put some more attention and energy toward. would it serve you to start connecting with your higher self more often? Are there any patterns you're noticing or connections you're making? And if you want, this is what you can journal on tonight, but hopefully you're starting to see more of a path forward. Remember, again, there's no judgment here. With awareness, you can just keep making new choices. And I hope you can see the impact of living in alignment with your core values. So before I share a recap, are there any questions? Did this make sense? You can put something in the chat. Maybe you did. Let me just double check. The issue is consistency. That's a great point, Deanne. So you're noticing, or you probably know what you need to do, and then you're not doing it consistently, which hopefully some of these tools can help with, or clarity, or even given that you're in a transition, you've literally, by leaving your job, created space to allow you to practice some of this, which is really great.
Yeah. It's like getting rid of the stress and kind of consistently thinking about things like we are today, just as those constant reminders, because I feel like when you're stressed out, everything goes by the wayside.
You hit it on the head. In fact, they show that there's parts of our brain that shut down when we're stressed out. That's why I keep inviting these different exercises like the life plan matrix to keep you calmer, because when your brain is calmer, you have access to more solutions. If you're stressed out working many hours a day or trying to find a job or fill in the blank with what's stressing someone out, of course, there's no capacity. I mean, we know that anecdotally, but research shows that. So I'm excited for you to have that capacity. And Deanne, you might, and anyone listening, is consider, like, oh, what would I want to focus more on? Maybe connecting a daily ritual to connect with my higher self. More activities that align with my values, which again, you would have more time for now. So, any other questions? I'm noticing we're close to time, so I want to honor that for everyone. And obviously you can reach out separately if you do have more questions. But basically, just to recap today, I hope you could see how we're identifying your core values, discovering what truly matters to you at your deepest level. And remember, you can use your values as a compass so they can guide your decisions and actions for true fulfillment. When I work with clients, we talk about how to do that even more specifically. We will a little bit tomorrow, but even when you have your 5 values and they're clear, those can come into conflict. So there are ways to even understand how to honor those values in particular in a way that feels good. When you do that, you experience more authentic achievements, right? Right now, you might be feeling like you're achieving and experiencing certain results, but they might not be authentic to your hearts, right? So we want to make sure that you experience successes that resonate with your true self for lasting satisfaction, because your path is authentic to you. And then tomorrow we'll take all of this truth along with your vision that we uncovered the other day to learn how to set goals with heart. And we'll begin to craft a roadmap that aligns your desires with actionable and energizing steps. So I'm excited for that to come together. As a reminder, tomorrow we're meeting, Friday, we're meeting at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central, and 10 a.m. Pacific. So it will be midday tomorrow or morning if you're out west. With that, we are complete.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. Great.
Thanks,
to connect.
Rosie.
Take care. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Bye.